Okay, here he comes. Here we go. That's exciting. Well, welcome back to the channel. Today we're in a Ferrari F430. Oh, and boy, it sounds good. Now, I have to confess before we start, this is actually take two. I recorded this yesterday, and car friend Andrew has very gracefully brought the car back today because the footage from yesterday was unusable due to a camera malfunction. But we're back today, and another excuse to be in the car because this is truly a remarkable car. Now, the 430 is actually the very first supercar that I ever got to drive, and that was completely by accident. Cast your mind back to 2015. I was working in Sydney and I had an opportunity to rent a supercar for the weekend, and so it was a no-brainer at the time. Like, my favorite dream supercar was the Audi R8. Everybody who watches this channel knows that, you know, I've got a collection of R8s. I love the R8, and I had arranged to rent an R8 and drive it through the Blue Mountains over the weekend, and I was so excited. I was buzzing. I got into the dealer and he said to me, "Look, sorry mate, the R8 hasn't actually got back from the previous hire yet. However, we have a Ferrari F430 Spider that you can take." And I'm like, no, I was gutted. I mean, how many people are offered a Ferrari as an upgrade and then they're gutted? I mean, I was that guy. And so anyway, he shows me through the car, and frankly, I was a little bit terrified because, you know, when he started to point out the Malatino switch on the steering wheel and tell me about the traction control offsetting and how I must never ever use that, I'm sort of thinking to myself, what have I done? What have I signed up to? Well, anyway, it was an awesome trip, and that was an awesome car, but that car had the F1 gearbox in it. And the F1 gearbox, just like the R-tronic gearbox in the Audi R8, is essentially a robotic clutch. But remember, in the noughties, Ferrari was at the absolute pinnacle of its Formula One career, and it was winning every single race, and the Formula One gearbox was first introduced essentially in this car to their customer base to give the customers that F1 experience in a car that they could buy. And so Ferrari highly promoted and recommended the F1 option, which was in fact a $35,000 option. So it was the premium option. But this car, fortunately, doesn't have it. It's got the 6-speed manual gated gearbox, and it's so much better for it. There were only 1,500 cars made with the gated gearbox out of the 15,000 cars made, and of those, only 500 were in right-hand drive like this one, and of those, only 250 were the coupe version rather than the Spider. So this is one of 250. That's rare. That's very rare indeed. The Scuderia, for example, which was the premium version of the 430, only made 2,000 of those units. So 2,000 Scuderias and 1,500 manual 430s. It makes the manual 430 very rare, more rare than a Scuderia. Yes, I had rehearsed that. I'm not sure if it landed well. Oh. So because we had a failed camera shoot yesterday, I got to drive this back and forth on this road a few times yesterday, and I can assure you this is the business. This is the one to have. The last of the gated manual Ferrari cars. It's so light. It's light just like my 488, and it reminds me of the 488. Remember, the 488 is I guess the this is the great-great-grandfather of the 488. And You know, you can feel that lineage. You can feel it in the steering wheel. This steering wheel, by the way, was first introduced in the Enzo and then in this car, and it's the first wheel to get that Malatino switch. And now it's iconic Ferrari. Other car makers like Porsche have copied it and essentially got their little switch on the wheel as well. But I love the Ferrari steering wheels. I think they are the best in business. And this, it feels so special to be sort of taken back to the first generation of this. It's a very basic wheel. It's got the start button, it's got the Malatino and the horn, and that's that. Now, right in front of you, you've got the beautiful rev counter that's also iconic Ferrari. This one's yellow, looks gorgeous. Because this car is manual, the little LED display in the center does not show which gear you're in, because you know what gear you're in, baby, because you've got this gorgeous gated shifter right in front of you. That's only used if you're using the flappy paddle version of the car. And boy, this car feels great. Now, the other thing about this car, because it was all peak Formula One Ferrari, the constructor's badge is proudly positioned over there on the car. It's the last car to wear the constructor's badge. And as a result, I think this car is going to be highly, highly collectible in the future. I think if you can get yourselves into a car like one of these manuals, you're onto a winner. Now, the engine in the back is proudly on show with those lovely big red intake pipes, looking good with the Ferrari badging on both sides. Looks just absolutely magnificent looking through the window. Maybe that was a popular thing of its day because the R8 has a very similar sort of setup. And the other thing I really love about this car that isn't on other Ferraris to my knowledge is the F430 is embossed in the driver's side rear vision mirror, and I really like that. I think that's a real iconic kind of cool look. The exterior of the car, some people have mixed opinions on the rear of the car, but at the end of the day, it's a Ferrari, baby. No one ever got fired for buying a Ferrari. Oh, less sheep on the road this time, which is really good to see. Now, the gearbox feel on this car is just a little bit different to the R8. Oh, it just wants to go and go. The way it revs is just nuts. It actually reminds me an awful lot of the GT3 991.2 that I drove the other day in terms of its lightness and in terms of the way it revs. But this sounds better. This sounds so much better. This is Ferrari. It's just every bit Ferrari and just so good, so special. I mean, the GT3 Touring, of course, is pretty awesome, but I just don't think you can. This is in a different league. This is an icon, and it's just all about the driving experience. The steering feels fantastic. The suspension system, I believe, was a technology that Ferrari called Skyhook, which was supposed to be a special sort of dampering system to make it feel like you're probably being hung like a puppet on strings from the sky. It feels good, it feels tight. Andrew's got a little switch that can open and close the exhaust. We've got it nicely opened up. Did you hear that? And it sounds good reverberating off these rock walls around here. Gee, what a privilege to drive such a car. I was actually thinking today, you know, I've really been very fortunate in being able to get in a whole lot of these different exotic supercars. And, you know, I used to sort of think, once you've been in one, you've been in them all. It's a bit like an expensive wine. Once you've had one expensive wine, you know, you've had them all. It's not true. They actually all have very subtle differences. Just like a different expensive wine, they all have subtleties that are just so unique and make them so special. And that's why people gravitate to different brands. I think the noise and the sound of the Ferrari is undeniable. That exhaust, just even the stock exhaust is just incredible. And this is stock exhaust, it's just that it's programmed to stay open a little bit longer when you press the button. It's so special. I can imagine myself when this car came out and Ferrari at the head of its game, and imagine owning one of these. I mean, this is the business. You know, what do they used to say? win a race on Sunday, sell a car on Monday. And I can totally see why.
You're great, Ross. You're great, Ross. All of you guys. Oh my God. We did it. We did it. Oh, thanks. He's scoring a big kiss for me.
Special thanks also to Caleb, who has been our camera operator today and has shot some beautiful images on the exteriors of the car and with his drone. Big thumbs up to you, Caleb. You're doing an awesome work. Check out his Instagram. I'll put it in the description. Thanks to Andrew, who has very kindly lent me his car a second time and a first time. Just fantastic. I love this car. Thanks again. Like and subscribe. And we'll see you next time.